Welcome to the Master of Science in Applied Psychology Open House, presented by the University of Southern California, Dornsife College of Letters, Arts, and Sciences. My name is Stephen Hall, and I'll be your host today. First, I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. Before we begin, I'd like to review what you can expect during today's presentation. To cut down on background noise, we've muted your phone lines so you can hear us, but we cannot hear you. If you have any questions, please type them in the Q&A box in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and hit send. Feel free to enter your questions as you think of them. We'll answer as many as time allows at the end of the presentation. A PDF and a recording of today's presentation will be available shortly after the event. Here's a quick look at what we'll be covering. First, we'll hear from Dr. Ellen Leggett. Dr. Leggett is a professor of psychology as well as the director of the program, and she'll introduce us to USC Dornsife, the program curriculum, specializations, as well as the internship and capstone components. Next, we'll hear from Callan, the student support coordinator. She'll give us an overview of the advantages of online learning and the learning environment. Lastly, I'll go over the specific admissions requirements and next steps on how to contact me to begin an application. We'll end the presentation with a Q&A session. Now, let's get started. Hello, Dr. Leggett, and thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Stephen. I'm glad to be here, and welcome to all of you. I'm sure we have people from all over the country and maybe even some international people I heard today on the line. So I want to tell you a little bit about our program, and the first thing I'd like to mention is that our program is really unique, and we're focused on becoming the most unique and most exciting place in the country for people who are interested in learning how to utilize the theory and research of psychology, contemporary psychology, in business and organizations. And we really believe that if you understand human behavior, that this will help you with some of the most important functions that are necessary in organizations and companies today. First off, motivating and engaging employees in an increasingly global workplace, and secondly, reaching consumers persuasively in an increasingly global marketplace. So that's what our mission is. Do we have the next slide? There we go. All of you have logged on and are interested in our program, so you must know something about USC, but we're here in sunny Southern California, and I say sunny because I know many of you may be in places where it's still winter, and I've lived there too, so I feel your pain in the cold and snow. But USC is, as you may know, a very old and esteemed private university and one of the world's leading research universities. We have many graduate and professional schools, and the largest of all of the schools at USC is the College of Letters, Arts, and Sciences, which is where the psychology department and this program are located. And the psychology department is one of the largest in the College of Letters, Arts, and Sciences. We graduate there are hundreds of, I'm stumbling a little bit because every year the number changes, but there are hundreds of psychology students graduating every year, and I think there are close to 1,000 in the university at this time across all of the programs that we offer in psychology. Can we have the next slide? So a little bit more about the specific program learning objectives for students who are in our program. And I should say that the online program is a new delivery vehicle for our program. We have launched the online version of our program just this year. However, the program on campus has been in existence for 5 years. We currently have on campus our 5th class. And the online program has the same learning objectives for students as we have for the students on campus. So 4 of these in very formal language are up here for you. And just to give you a quick summary of what these mean to me, the first one is that this program really is based in key psychology theory and psychology research. And we are drawing upon contemporary theory and research and focusing on how does that apply? How can it inform problems and issues that are happening out there in the world of work, whether it's talking about consumers, teams, and employees, or the dynamics within organizations. Secondly, we are focused on giving students in this program data skills. Data is the way the world works. Any of you who are in business right now may deal with data. We are focusing on human capital data and believe that students need to be able to design ways to solve problems by getting data, manipulating that data, using that data in order to make important decisions in the workplace or about the workplace. For example, market research utilizes data in order to reach consumers most effectively, and increasingly organizations and the HR departments and organizational development departments in corporations and organizations are using workforce data in order to inform questions about team productivity and employee engagement. And these surveys may be international as companies are more global in their employee base. And we want to be utilizing psychology research skills in order to have our graduates able to be good consumers but also users of data in order to help drive business, whatever setting they're in. Third, we really believe in communication. We are in a liberal arts school after all. So communication is very highly regarded in this program, and this is not academic writing as much as it is how to use what you may know about writing, whether it's from the academic world or the business world, and improve it. Written, oral, and increasingly social media. And lastly, this one is something I'm very fond of. It's something that's very dear to me, is that I believe that as organizations and corporations evolve, we must evolve, and we must seek new ways to use psychology to be wherever the current issues are in the workplace and in organizational life. And that means that we emphasize a creative approach to career development so that graduates of this program hopefully will go where no one has gone before in combining psychology, utilizing and drawing upon psychology to advance organizations, even if we don't know what those jobs are today. Next slide. The 2 areas that we have learned over time in this program that students seem most drawn to as the intersections between psychology and business world are consumer psychology and organizational psychology. The topics that we cover in these areas are listed on the slide here, but let me say that all students in this program are exposed to coursework in both areas. And that is because I personally believe that no matter where you work, you are a personal marketer of your own brand, and you will be a more effective employee if you understand organizational dynamics. So even if your interest is consumer psychology and marketing, you will take organizational psychology, one course. And even if your interest is consumer psychology and marketing, you will still take one organizational psychology course for the reasons that I mentioned. And our students have responded to that enthusiastically. This is something that really they have said is one of the most important pieces of the program to them, that they learn that these two areas are actually not that distinctly different. In fact, we emphasize ways in which they intersect and ways in which, for example, the research and data tools that may be used in one are also used in the other. For an example, surveys and focus groups are used internally in organizations and used externally to assess consumer perceptions. Next slide. Our curriculum is short. This program on campus is a very intense 1-year, 12-month program, and the online program can be accomplished in about 4 terms, 16 months, as opposed to the 2 terms plus a summer that students do on campus. And that's with the assumption that there are 2 courses taken a term, whereas on campus they take 4 courses a term in full-time program only. That is the only program that we have on campus. There are 8 courses, still the same 2 semesters. On campus, it's 4 courses each semester. And then an additional 2 units are for a capstone paper, which we'll talk about a little bit more, paper or project. And there's also an internship component. These 2 are the practica pieces of our program. And each term, there are 15 weeks, so that the term in the summer is exactly 15 weeks, the same as spring and fall. Again, that is a difference between the calendar for on campus. Okay, next slide. Let's talk a little bit more about the foundation courses. These are the required courses. And if you start at the bottom first, you see organizational psychology and consumer psychology, which I told you everyone takes. So those are the building blocks that begin the program. Either the first or second term, all of these courses will be taken. Moving up the list from the bottom, you see research methods, and that is the course everyone is required to take. That is our data course, where we cover survey design and utilization of survey data and qualitative data towards organizational purposes. And then the 2 courses at the top, Pro Seminar it's kind of an old name for courses that form the fundamental professional introduction to a field. And many graduate programs have Pro Seminars, and it means professional seminar. And we have 2 courses that are professional seminars. The first one is really a foundation course which covers theory. We waltz through, I say waltz because it's a fast review of every academic area of psychology where we see, I can't say every, many academic areas of psychology where we see intersections with the world of organizations and business. And that includes neuroscience, that includes cognitive psychology, it includes social psychology, cross-cultural psychology, personality and motivation, which are the areas that I personally teach. And if we can fit it in, we even bring in developmental psychology because many of us work in organizations where we are marketing to people of all ages and have employees of all ages in the workforce today. So that's the focus of that first foundation course. And the second course is an application tools course, which really is right now structured as a different toolkit every week, very specific on things such as Google Analytics, social media analytics. We had a presentation just this week on campus, a workshop from an executive at Warner Brothers who talked about emotional intelligence and handling difficult conversations in the workplace, and did a full workshop on skills in that area. The topics cover both marketing, consumer side, and organizational employee side. And students do have some opportunity to select among the topics, especially in the online program where we're experimenting a little bit with that, but it is a way for you to sharpen your focus the second half of that pro seminar course. Okay, let's move on. The elective courses cluster around the two areas that we've previously discussed. And by the way, you don't need to focus in one area or the other. Indeed, many of our students find, as I said before, that they like to take some classes from each side. And it's one of the strengths of our program that you're not locked in to one side or the other. But on the consumer side, we develop new courses, but the ones listed here are ones that are currently being taught. So we have an advanced course, which is specific to marketing research and analytics. I was just on the phone before this call with the professor in that class, and he's talking about bringing in big data to the course that he's teaching on campus regarding market research right now. The interactive media class is something students find very interesting, and we touch upon not only how to do social media, but what are the effects of social media on people, and that's where the psychology comes in, and look at research on those effects. And lastly, the decision analysis course is a course that's been taught on campus for a very long time that looks at, again, kind of a research approach to how consumers and people in general make important decisions in their lives, obviously using consumer decisions as one of the key decision categories that are looked at. Okay, next slide. The elective courses around the organizational side of our program are actually really popular classes. Right now there's an elective being taught on campus, and the same professor is developing that course for the online program as we speak in strategic business relationships. She's covering essentially consulting on organizational issues. She's reviewing how you assess an organization's strengths and weaknesses and deploy a consulting approach within an organization to be in relationships with people within that organization. The second class, Psychology of Organizational Change, again looks at what are the obstacles to organizational change and how can psychology be deployed to bring about more effective change. And Group Dynamics and Leadership is a class students really like because we do a lot of assessment personally of leadership styles. They do a lot of group team work, and focus groups are covered in that class. And they may be covered in other classes as well, but these are the classes that we currently have planned for the online program, with new classes always being discussed. Okay, let's move forward. As I've mentioned before, the internship and capstone treatise are important parts of our program. They may be a little bit different in our online program than our on-campus program because we're fully expecting that students in the online program may be employed already and not leaving their jobs while they are a student. And we have many ideas as to how to work with you to develop a more challenging project or more challenging opportunity or assignment within your current workplace, if that is what you would like to do. We also have a world-class career center on campus that our students, both online and on campus, are able to access, and through even the databases that Career Center has available and websites, you can find internships all over the world. And there's also a course that you sign up for in conjunction with the internship where we have students, we do this even with the on-campus course, that students chat with each other in what we call a cafe, an internship cafe, where there are assignments and they need to post observations related to a topic. Maybe the topic is supervisor relationships, and people post comments about what's happening in their own internship on that topic during that week, and everyone is dialoguing online in what we call a virtual Starbucks meetup to kind of talk about the topic of the day being supervisor relationships. The capstone treatise is really the integrative culmination of the program. It's an opportunity for students to pull together, what have I learned theoretically from psychology? What problems have I seen in the workplace, perhaps from my own work experience or from my internship? And how can I potentially deploy data to help solve this problem or create suggestions or recommendations in a consultative type of report in order to solve an organizational problem? And these are papers / projects / research projects depending upon your specific interest. Both the practica opportunities are the most germane ways for students in this program to fine-tune the program to meet your very specific needs. And the kinds of things that students are doing in their capstones right now, for example, are very unique. We have one student from Mexico who is interested in the shift in Mexico from shopping at local mercados or farmers market kind of locales, and the shift that's taking place in consumers towards shopping at Western Walmarts and Targets that are opening up in Mexico. And she's doing an online survey of consumer perceptions of those two shopping venues in Mexico for her treatise, and she is developing a strategy for bringing about changes in perceptions depending on what she finds. That's one example. And I also have an example of a student who was in a full-time job, and she loved her job. She actually was from the full-time cohort and got a job before she had finished her treatise, and this has been one of the delightful things that's happened for our students. But we worked with her to develop her treatise opportunity to be consistent with her job. She is in human relations recruiting, and she recognized that in this very fast growth company that she's in, she started when the company was very small, a startup, and it has tripled in size in the course of the time that she's been there, and she's been the one recruiting everyone. She recognizes that the culture has changed tremendously, and there were some traditions and practices that worked when the company was a really small startup. Everyone knew each other. It was more casual. Now the company was 100 employees, and she wanted to do an assessment at her workplace of how some particular practices were being perceived that were left over from the olden days, which was only a year and a half ago, but how they were being perceived and how they might be better modified to meet the same goals, but in a format that would be consistent with the larger employee base that they had at this time. She talked to the president of the company, who was also the founder, about her idea and need to do such a project for her graduate program. He endorsed her doing an online survey about this at her workplace. She after doing that, she did interviews of employees at her workplace and wrote a report to the president with recommendations. He took her recommendations and has changed that particular practice at the company, and she wrote all of that up for her treatise and did it while she was a full-time employee. So those are the kind of ways that we're trying to make this experience integrative. And as a PS on that particular student, she has just emailed me within the last week or so and said that her employer was so impressed with what she did that he has now asked her to institute a program of surveying the employees on a regular basis, and he wants feedback to be incorporated into his strategic planning for the company at every step of the way, and she is now in charge of that. He promoted her and put her in charge based on what she came up with to do for her treatise. That's what we want, to bring about change in careers through the opportunities that you have by virtue of USC saying you need to do something like this for your treatise and or your internship. Next slide. Hey, it's time for me to stop talking. I will have a chance to answer some questions from you all later, but I'm going to turn it over now to Christine. Christine, are you there?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Ellen Leggett. Again, my name is Christine Callan. I'd like to welcome everyone. Good afternoon. I am the Student Support Coordinator here with the Online Master of Science in Applied Psychology program. I work with students once they complete the admissions process all the way through graduation as their support system. I'm going to talk with you guys a little bit today about what the online experience will be like with our program. Here you'll see a slide with the benefits to being an online learner here at USC. The main ones being that you can connect and interact really at any time of your choosing through our different social networking capabilities that we've been able to add to our online learning management system. Another benefit being that you have a little bit more of flexibility being online versus at the ground campus to work around your busy lives. Also, we make accessibility to the online learning management system easy. You can be any place really in the world, 24/7, able to log in, communicate, work on assignments. Specifically, with our building close connections with fellow students through our social networking capabilities, we found that many of our students really become close and find each other their biggest support systems throughout their educational journey, really meeting in their cities if they live nearby, speaking through webcam, talking on the telephone, forming different study groups, and really creating that nice network that they can use even outside of the classroom. As online learners, you really can work at a pace that's best for you based around different due dates that your instructors have set forth for you. So if meeting at a specific place at a specific time doesn't work for you based on the other priorities and responsibilities that you have in your life, the online learning at USC really offers choices. Choices in deciding when you do your schoolwork, when you guys can best meet with group members and study groups, and when and how you communicate with your instructors. So although the flexibility is there, again, there are still due dates throughout the week, but you can kind of manage that around your own schedule. With the online learning management system, we've been able to make the accessibility pretty easy. So as you will see, a pretty diverse group of students as you start your cohort, students from different time zones, like I said, even throughout the world. You can revisit material learned week by week at different times as we do archive the materials. So you are able to go back to it, which you can't always do with a ground program. You can't always go back to those lectures that you've heard from your instructors and study back on that material, but through the online learning experience, it is saved, and you can go back to it to revisit and study up on again until you really grasp the concept. Here's a screenshot of what our online learning management system looks like. Our platform is called Moodle. If you've been an online learner before, it might look a little bit familiar, but our USC Moodle is very unique to us. As I had mentioned before, we've added in some social networking capabilities, which make it really unique and really strong in being able to build those close relationships and get that networking going in between students and faculty members as well. This is what your main page would look like. It's pretty organized with different navigational tools up top. The home page has your active courses. You can go along into the community portion of Moodle, which we'll talk about here in a bit as well, where you can do lots of networking and communication throughout different cohorts, not just with those students within your courses. Next slide. Here's a screenshot of what a typical classroom will look like. In this case, you'll see the different navigational tools to get from the content, so the material that you're using within the week and within the course as a whole. You're able to get to discussions here within the classroom. This is where you submit your assignments, and this is where you get your faculty information. Really, Moodle is the only place that you need to be to access all of your classroom information. So this learning management system keeps it pretty easy and organized. Different things that you do within your classroom would include watching videos, interacting with your instructors through live sessions through Adobe Connect, going through podcasts, creating blogs, creating chats with fellow students for group work, which we've been able to install somewhat of like an instant messaging within the classroom, so that if you're on at 11:50 and have an assignment due at 12 o'clock, you don't have to wait for an email back. If you have a quick question about assignment, you can kind of see who's online, ask the question to a fellow teammate through instant messaging, and get a pretty quick response. So all of this is housed right here in Moodle. Next slide. This next screenshot shows you the Community tab of Moodle. We call the Community tab really the hallway of your classroom. The great thing about it is you get to interact with students that are not just in your cohort. So not just those students that you've started the program with and you're going to see through graduation, but those students who have started before you, and even those students who have started the program after you. This is just going to make that network even larger. It's a great place to start conversations, whether it's about classroom material or even outside of that. So if it has something to do with your job or anything you're hearing in the news and you just kind of want to connect with others who have similar interests, this would be the place to do it. But the nice thing about Moodle is really you can't miss a beat. You have a profile here that includes your email address, so whenever a blog is updated, whenever comments are made and posted here in the community section, you'll receive an email notification to keep you in the loop. So again, you never really miss a beat. Next slide. And that's really the inside view of what to expect once your courses begin. Right now I'm going to go ahead and let Stephen Hall take over to discuss with you the admission requirements.
Thank you so much, Christine. Now, I've worked in higher education now for the past 8 years, and I'm currently an enrollment advisor for the online Master of Science in Applied Psychology program, and I'd like to take you through the admissions requirements. Okay? So, as you see on your screen right now, the requirements are fairly straightforward. We do require a bachelor's degree from a regionally accredited institution, your official GRE scores, official transcripts from all colleges and universities attended, and that's regardless of whether you've earned credit or degree from the institution. If you're an international student, we do require the TOEFL scores. The completion of the online application is also required. Your recent resume or your CV, an essay or personal statement of purpose, of which is 1,000 words, We do also require 3 letters of recommendation and then a non-refundable application fee of $85. Okay? Next slide. So with regards to the next steps, update your resume if you haven't already. Email me with your resume plus 2 times and dates that work best for you so that you and I can have a conversation. Also, start building an outline for your statement of purpose. I look forward to assisting you in answering your questions pertaining to the Master of Science in Applied Psychology program. Now, it's time for the Q&A session. Just a reminder, if you have any questions, please type them into the Q&A box in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and hit send. Our first question is, are all of your online courses 8 weeks in length? I believe Dr. Leggett had spoken to this earlier, but I want to defer to Dr. Leggett to elaborate a little bit further on the duration of the class time, of the semesters.
Yeah. Hi, this is Andrew, right? Hi, Andrew. Actually, our courses are 15 weeks in length. Each course is 15 weeks, whether you start in the summer, whether you start in the fall, or whether you start in the spring. Every term is 15 weeks.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Leggett. We have a question here from Erica Jordan. Have you had students in the past that have done both sets of elective courses?
Hi, Erica. I noticed that you might be right here at USC. Is that right? Actually, I know you can't talk back, but I see on the list here that you're calling from USC Marshall School of Business. So I'm hopeful that you're an undergraduate student. The answer to your question is that there are only 2 elective courses in the sequence of courses, and those elective courses can be mixed from both the organizational side and the consumer side. So it is not possible to take every elective course in the program. I hope that answers your question. Oh, I am a staff member at Marshall School. Welcome. I would invite you to come over and chat with me anytime that you would like to. I'm happy to meet with you and answer any questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Leggett.
You're welcome.
We have another question here. Do you have the option to attend part-time?
The online program is only part-time. The on-campus program is only full-time.
Excellent. Thank you. And, okay, we have another question here. Can I alternate between the online program and the campus program?
I wish that the answer to that could be yes, but at this point in time, the programs are distinct. And that means that if you apply for the online program, you will be taking all of your courses online. And if you apply for the on-campus program, you will be taking all of your courses on campus. And we are working with some pathways down the line in the future to create more flexibility, but at this point in time, it is one or the other.
Thank you, Dr. Leggett. The next question, when does the next semester start? And it's actually a 2-part question. And do you happen to know what the deadline for applying to this upcoming semester is?
I'm going to let you answer that, Stephen.
Right. So the next semester begins, it's the summer semester. It starts on May 19th. The deadline, however, for summer is April 18th. So if this sounds as though it's something you're interested in applying to, April will be here before we know it. Okay. Next question, are there any opportunities for financial aid?
There is, of course, opportunity for financial aid available through USC's usual financial aid application process, which is primarily the government grants and loans. At this time, there are no specific grants available for students in this program that are earmarked for this program.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Leggett. Great question here. Before we apply, will we have needed to make the decision of an on-site or online program, or will we be able to make it after we're accepted? So I'll speak to that. In terms of applying to the on-site or the campus-based program and online program, there are actually two distinct applications that you would apply with, right? So prior to deciding which program you want to apply to, it might be helpful to think about which is going to best serve your need program-wise, and then proceeding from that understanding. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, another really good question. Do you waive the GRE requirement for transferring master's students?
I'm not sure what I know transferring master's student means. Let me take a stab at this. If you're currently enrolled in a master's program elsewhere, you don't need to retake the GRE, but the GRE scores from anybody need to be within the last 5 years.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's see here. So how much weight does your essay get into the program hold if your past transcripts do not reflect the master's program?
That's a really good question, and I'm happy to speak to that. The essay is very important. The essay is your opportunity to market yourself, to help us see how you see the connection between our program and what you've done in the past and what you intend to do in the future. So it's very important. And in response to the reference to past transcripts, we do look at all transcripts and all academic work. I think it's safe to say that the farther away your undergraduate transcripts are in time, the more we would look at your work experience. That being said, we do hope that there has been adequate preparation to be able to succeed in a graduate level program in psychology. I mean, this is a psychology degree in a psychology program. So having had introduction to psychology at some point in your transcript would be desirable if you weren't a psychology major. And if you've more recently done some coursework, one course at a community college or something like that, that is more relevant, we would certainly be happy to see that as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Leggett. Next question here. Is it possible to take a single course without pursuing the master's degree? And if so, could the course credit be applied to the degree program at a later date?
So the question, if I understand, is can you just take one course without applying to the program? The answer to that is right now, no. We are accepting applications for students who intend to pursue the degree.
Great. Thank
you. Stephen, I suppose this could be something we could dream about in the future, but there is no plan right now to have a trial period of let's just take one class in this program and see how it goes. Interesting idea, though.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Dr. Leggett. So the next question, how much is the tuition for the program? I can speak to that. Tuition per credit, it's $1,536 per credit. Again, there are 34 credits in all in the program, so in sum, the tuition is $52,224. And next question, what are the GPA requirements? Actually, it's a few questions here. What are the GPA requirements, desired GRE test scores, and when the program begins? I actually spoke to the latter question, but the GPA requirements and desired GRE test scores.
I'll answer that if you'd like, Stephen. This is an interesting question because we're getting applications from people who maybe have GPAs that are from a few years ago and they haven't been in school recently, they've been working. And so one thing that is important for me to say first is that we do a holistic evaluation of every student's complete application. And GPA from your undergraduate transcript is not the only thing that matters. GRE scores are not the only thing that matters. So I want to make sure that everyone understands that we look at your resume, we look at what you've been doing with your life, what your goals are, and what the personal statement says. But the graduate school at USC does have very high standards. This is a national university, and the academic standards for the online program are consistent with the academic standards for the on-campus program, and the graduate school does have guidelines for us in that regard. So that I would say that if you have a GPA, no matter when it was in time, a GPA that's 3.0 or above, you are within the ballpark that will kind of get through the first blush of the graduate school requirements. And GRE scores, in the olden days, anyone who took GREs before they came up with this new recent scoring system, the numbers that the graduate school has as sort of minimum numbers were 500 math, 500 verbal. In contemporary scoring, that averages out to 297 combined score for math and verbal if you take the GREs in the new format. And again, that said, those are two numbers, and there are other things that are in everyone's transcript that are looked at, especially for students who have been out of the academic environment for a few years.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Leggett. Here's a really good question, and I get this a lot. Are there plans for a PhD program?
There are no plans for a PhD program in this program at all, not on the horizon at all. The reason for that is that we feel we are serving a very particular niche, which is people who have, a couple of different niches, but one is people who have a liberal arts or psychology or social science background and who have been underemployed and haven't found ways to utilize their education in the workforce. And for those people, we perceive that we're doing a service in helping them carve the way to find relevance from whatever education they had before into new fields. And our second mission is to help people who are at points in their career where they would like more education in order to take their career to a new level. we're very much a practitioner-oriented program, and the PhD programs at USC are very academic research-based. We are applied, so we are really focused on getting people in the workforce to apply psychology. And I can't foresee a PhD at USC in this area anytime soon.
Thank you. Next
we
question.
have lots of PhD programs here, though. Come for PhD in clinical, come for PhD in social, come for PhD in developmental. There are lots of PhD programs in psychology at USC, just not applied psychology right now.
Indeed, indeed. Another question here. Are there any certifications or licenses that we can qualify to take? For example, PHR or LPC?
We don't include those in our curriculum, but we have had that question before, and we are looking into it.
Thank you.
But there are other places you could go if you just want the license or the certification program. So we have a more complete program than that, but it is something that we could offer and are looking into as something the students could do as a separate workshop approach somehow.
Okay. How many applicants are predicted to be accepted into the next cohort of the online program, and how many are typically accepted into the on-campus program?
Our on-campus program is 30 students and is very highly selective. We have hundreds of applicants for our on-campus program, and we're not intending to grow that program. And the online program, because it's new, we're just ramping up. So, we would like to have full classes, and we would like class sections at the same time. We would like class sections to remain small enough that students get the individual attention that we think is a hallmark in our program. No matter how many students are in this program online, there would still be not more than 25 or 30 with one instructor. And I think that we will probably have less than that, especially because we're right at the beginning of the program.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Leggett. Good question here. Do you happen to have an idea of the weekly time requirement for these courses?
Christine, do you want to say anything about that? Christine?
Christine actually had to step out for a moment.
Oh, okay. I thought she was on mute. I'll talk to that. I'm currently the professor for the foundations class, along with Professor Jellison. We're sharing that together. And the types of activities for each class are really in two different areas. One are the activities that substitute for what you would do in the classroom, where we have developed activities that mirror the kinds of interactions and topics that would have been covered in a classroom. And our classes all on campus are 4 hours long. And they meet once a week. So our 4-hour-long class for a given week would have included many activities, many group discussions, many tasks that they do inside the classroom. Like sometimes we'll have students fill out a self-assessment of some sort and then in a small group discuss it. And there are also lectures by the professors. So all of those activities have been converted into activities to be done by the online students. And we think that they're very fun. We think they're very engaging and give you a lot of opportunity to interact with each other in the online environment. And sometimes we're doing live sessions where we need to get you all together at the same time, and we have, through the wonders of technology and Adobe Connect, we all have an opportunity to meet at the same time online and have a live session as well. In addition to those activities that parallel the classroom, there are also the actual assignments that would be done outside the classroom, and those would be reading assignments in preparation for the week's lessons, and also writing assignments. So I don't know how to quantify the number of hours. I think it depends upon each student, but the intent is for it to be commensurate with what the same activities were for that lesson on campus.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Leggett. We have one final question here that we're going to address. Can we apply to both the online program and the on-campus program?
Can you apply to both programs? Yes, you can. There's no reason why you cannot, and they actually are distinctly different. You can't, through one application, apply to both. You have to apply 2 times, the way that the USC admissions process works. But you can indeed.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Leggett. Thank you also, Christine. This concludes today's webinar. Remember, if you have any questions or think it's time to apply, please reach out to me. My contact information is on your screen now. I'll also have a PDF and a recording of this event, and I'll be able to send them to you within the next week. Thank you again, and have a great day.